All right, the BAWS. What is the BAWS? The BAWS is a wire saw. Why is this ridiculous Strantor person making this ridiculous wire saw and posting videos of it in the middle of the story, like on chapter 18 with no context? Because this ridiculous Strantor person was going to make a video series about a CNC Swiss lathe. And I'm going to be building this Swiss lathe out of cast iron, and I needed a source of cast iron. And I have a forklift in my driveway that's made out of cast iron, turns out. And so I was going to cut it. I tried different ways of cutting it. It's about a foot thick, which is great. You know, I need big, thick pieces of cast iron. But yeah, it's kind of hard to cut through a foot of cast iron. Enter the wire saw, the BAWS. So the wire saw, the BAWS. The BAWS. The BAWS can cut through just about anything on the planet, and it can do it making a very straight, smooth cut, which is great. You know, as opposed to using like a torch, which never tried cutting cast iron with a acetylene torch, but I'm not even positive it can be done. And all the other methods I had at my disposal, like using one of those gas-powered, you know, giant saw blade things, like that. Just picture in your head someone cutting through a forklift with that. It could get gnarly. So I thought this would be cool to build in support of that CNC build. So this was just going to be like a mini episode in the middle of the CNC build, but as you can see, it got a little more involved than just a quick and dirty thing to cut cast iron with. So I decided that it needed its own video series, but at the time I decided that, I was already like 3/4 of the way done building it. And so I just started uploading at the point where I was with no context, and that made for a story with some pretty big holes in it. So I'm going back retrospectively, I'm going back retro style to introduce the saw, why I built it, what it does, and I just did that. So I'll tell you a little bit about it. I've used diamond wire saws offshore, subsea. And those saws use like a 1/2 inch or 12 millimeter wire. It's actually like a wire rope with diamond beads on it, and that's used to cut pipes and whatnot on the seafloor. And those are the cable's joined in a continuous loop, so it just runs one direction nonstop. This wire is surplus from the semiconductor industry, a company that was going to make sapphire screens for the iPhone 6, but then they ended up filing for bankruptcy, and all this wire ended up on eBay. And so this spool right here, this 10 kilometers of diamond wire, they said it was $18,000 in 2013 when the company bought it, and it has an expiration date of 1 year. So in 2014, it was no longer suitable for any official use. So I wound up on eBay. I got it for about 400 bucks, and I built the saw, the BAWS, around the wire. I don't have any way to join the ends of guitar string to make a continuous loop saw like we used offshore, so I had to go at it a little bit differently. I got about 1,500 feet of wire on this bobbin. So as the bobbin spins this way, this apparatus here moves this way. And then once it gets over to this side, it stops, reverses direction, goes back the other way. The wire spins, spools onto and off of the same bobbin at the same time. that's about it. That's how it works. That's why I made it. And this video is in the timeline of videos that I've released. It comes after me cutting a green pipe and before me cutting a bunch of other stuff, like Barbies and bricks and chunks of wood and soda cans. So stay tuned for the debut of the wire saw BAWS! Cutting the forklift, which was going to be the first video, but then I decided it would be kind of silly to have the debut of the saw and then retroactively go back and upload the build process, because I don't think anybody would be interested in it after they've already seen it. We'll see. I recorded video footage of the beginning stages of the build, and I may or may not upload that depending on if I have time. I guess that's one more thing to mention. I talked about how the wire spools and the traverse and everything. These are tensioners. They keep the wire from getting loose, because if the wire gets any kind of slack in it, it's like a slinky. It'll do all kinds of gnarly stuff over there, and we don't want that. So these keep tension on the wire at all times. I'm using bungees for tension. These are pneumatic cylinders, dual rod pneumatic cylinders, but I'm not using air to provide the tension because I don't trust it. If the compressor trips a breaker or somebody crushes the hose or something, then I lose tension and a bunch of diamond wire, and that's not cool. So 1,500 feet of diamond wire. The BAWS! The BAWS! Like a BAWS! The BAWS! The BAWS! The BAWS! Oh, I wasn't recording that whole time.